Hey, good morning, everybody. And you know what? As my good friend Bryce always says, you know what time it is. This is Thursday Morning Live. I'm glad that you're here this morning, and I'm excited about our guest and the conversation that we're going to have this morning. We're actually going to talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about core values, intentionality. I always bring that message of intentionality out to you. I want you to understand and really be intentional about what you're doing. Here we are a couple of months into the new year already. And, optimistic you set some goals and had some dreams that you're trying to accomplish this year. Hey, maybe it was just go to the health club every 3 days a week, 4 days a week this year. And has that continued on or has it burned off for you? But, we're going to talk about intentions this morning. Glad that you're here. If you're new to the show, thanks for tuning in. Would love for you to smash the subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Continue to follow us. We're always bringing out great content, great guests, information that's going to help inspire you, help grow your business. If you're on Facebook and you're in the multifamily space, join our Facebook group, Multifamily Unplugged, where we always have something interesting going on. And if you're live with us this morning, throw a chat in the comment box. Let us know where you're from, who you are, and if you have any questions along the way. My guest this morning, though, Jason Wright. Jason is from St. Mary's, Georgia, and we're going to find out where St. Mary's, Georgia is because I'm not real sure about that. His company is Intentionally Inspirational. I love that. What a great name. And he's in the digital marketing space, but we're going to talk about being an entrepreneur. So let me bring Jason in. Hey, Jason, good morning.
Morning. Thanks for having
Hey,
me on, Mike.
yeah, thanks for joining in this morning. So, I always like to think about the time zones, right? So, it must be about 9:30 by you,
Yep, absolutely.
Eastern time. I'm on Pacific time, so it's 6:30. And when I was living in Chicago, it was always 8:30. So that was a little bit easier than 6:30. So,
Yep,
but
absolutely.
hey, for all my friends on the West Coast, welcome here this morning. So. Jason, so you know what? One quick question. Where the heck is St. Mary's, Georgia?
Yeah, St. Mary's, Georgia. So it's coastal Georgia. It's about an hour and 40 minutes south of Savannah. And my house sits just under a mile from the Florida border. So we're coastal Georgia. Jacksonville's our closest big city, about 25 minutes north of Jacksonville.
Okay, interesting. Very cool. Little town, big town?
So it's a Navy town. So we've got St.
Mm.
Mary's, Georgia, that's a little less than 20,000, and it runs right into Kingsland, Georgia, which is about the same size. So it's like a small city, kind of metro, kind of not. And we're kind of on the outskirts of that. We actually found it vacationing last year. And since we built this location independent business, I was like, let's get out of Indiana, where I'm from. Let's go somewhere with palm trees and oceans. So we did.
Nice, good for you. Yeah, that's exactly what I just did too. So tired of the snow and the slush and the
It's
cold
old.
weather. Yeah, it's a whole different world though. Man, what a culture shock moving across country, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. We drove ourselves down and drove the family down about 1,000 miles. So your trip's further, and then was here 2 weeks, and then went back, sold the house, and drove down again. So it's a lot of work. It took up half our year, whether it's physically or emotionally or mentally. So it's a big deal moving across the country.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, so I always kick this off. I like to ask my guests one question, and I always say I'm going to write a book on this because I have just hundreds of answers to this. But in one word, what best describes you personally and professionally?
Yeah, I would say relentless.
Mm.
And I don't mean that in an intense fashion. I was going to say obsessed, but it sounds worse. But it's kind of the same thing. When I set my goal, when I set my sights on something, I just keep going till I get there. I don't have an off switch for that. I don't have the ability to stop. So that's why I said the word relentless, and hopefully this explanation makes sense. But it's in a good way. It's not in a creepy, crazy, weird way. But I think it allows me to get to the places that I want to go.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I I like the spin you put on it that it's not in a creepy, crazy way because there's those out there too. So hey, I'm a telemarketer just like anybody else, and some guys are just like way too relentless, over the
Oh
top.
yeah,
So
yep, absolutely.
talk about your history a little bit, and your business and what you're doing.
Yeah, so the to go way back and kind of explain why I'm an entrepreneur from a quick level. When I was 14 years old, my passion in life was love fishing more than anything in the world. And I remember when the new Bass Pro catalog came out when I was 14. I was like, "Hey, mom, you gotta see these new lures and new poles and everything." And she's like, "We're not buying any more stuff." I was like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "You have more fishing tackle than anybody I've ever met. Like, we're done." And I was like, "I can't be done. Like, there's new stuff I need to get." She's like, "Well, you need to go earn your own money because I'm not willing to pay for anymore." So that kind of started it for me. I went and cut 3 yards in my cul-de-sac, made 75 bucks a week with no bills, used all that for fishing tackle. So I got my first taste of entrepreneurship young. Fast forward, I was in corporate America about 7 years, had to quit twice to get out, but I just got tired of getting up early. I don't like getting up early. I don't generally take calls before 10:30. So you're the exception, buddy.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be able to work from home and live wherever I wanted to. And those are some of the things that really drove me to get to where I'm at. And the path wasn't easy and it wasn't clear. But again, being relentless and saying, this is going to be important to me for the rest of my life until I get to the things I want, kind of allowed me to get here. So that story probably gives you some insights to how I'm wired for sure.
Yeah. So what does your company do, Intentionally Inspirational?
Yeah, so we're focused on the sales funnel online. We really help our clients with what we call the back end of the sales funnel. In other words, what happens after people join your email list. So we focused on nurturing leads, building pipelines so people can see kind of the customer journey. And our niche is real estate investors who need to raise capital for their syndications or their funds. So it's a very narrow niche, and we exclusively work within Active Campaign. Active Campaign is a software like HubSpot or Go High Level, so it's a CRM and a marketing automation tool. So we essentially created our own really narrow niche, and we've been doing that with that audience for a couple years now.
So, I think the biggest question I always have, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there that have this same question, is your emails get lost in spam, in junk, in trash,
Yeah,
and how do you get your message to the consumer
yeah,
that, hey, when I bring a multifamily deal to the marketplace,
yeah,
and I'm trying to raise capital, and I send out 5,000 emails, but 4,200 of them go to spam, it's not helping me.
yeah.
And I'm just making this up, Jason, so I don't necessarily know that that's true, but
Yeah,
I use a CRM that, I have issues pretty often.
yeah. So I think this month, especially, but a lot of the players, Google, Yahoo, et cetera, have now come out this month and said you've got to do some things with the DNS record of the email you're sending from to improve deliverability. And it's really to cut down on spam. So there's things that we do from the DNS record level to help with deliverability, but we also teach our clients don't rely just on email. Use text, use webinars, use social media. You've got to use these different tools for that reason, right? And not only for deliverability, but in some ways, people become numb to email because we all get so many every day. It's harder to stand out in email. It's much easier to stand out in text because text covers the screen of their phone and there's not near as much competition. So, yeah, there's some things that we teach for sure.
We might not want to say that live on the air, though,
Yeah.
because then there might be more
Well,
competition.
you know how it is. You can tell people exactly what you're doing, but 99% of people won't do anything about it.
Absolutely,
Give them
100%.
the
Always
keys.
been that way.
Yeah, it still requires effort, and most. Isn't that sad? We live in a world that the missing ingredient for most people's lives is just consistent effort. You want to
Mm,
lose weight, but you don't ever go to the gym. You want more money, but all you do is sit around and complain. You've got to do things differently. I feel like I'm talking to my son right now. His
right.
room's across the hall. He's about to graduate from high school, and we have these conversations. He's starting to realize he works, but he's starting to realize how expensive the world is. And I'm like, why is it you think most people aren't where they want to be financially? And he's like, we start working through it. I'm like, you come home, you lay on your phone when you're not working, you feel like you've earned it. But I said, could you be doing more? could you be doing more in that downtime? Actually, yesterday he told me he's fired up his logo and kind of digital design business again on the side to start making more money. And I'm like, great, sweet.
Yeah, it's interesting. I learned a long time ago. I think I got work ethic from my dad, first of all, growing up. My
Yep,
dad was a hard worker. He was pretty consistent and relentless. I would say he was relentless.
yeah,
Looking back, and I think I got that work ethic from him, and have always been a hard worker.
yep.
People will call me a workaholic. I know there's a 12-step program for that, right? And it's for me, it's work more. So,
Yeah, yep.
um, but it's. I remember, and I said this a minute ago. Hey, I'm in the marketing business, the telemarketing business, and I learned a long time ago that in order for me to sell real estate as a real estate agent, I needed to pick up the phone and call people. So
Yeah,
I made 20,000 dials a year, and I knew that that got me 125 listings sold a year. And I had a very nice business as a result of that.
yeah,
And it's funny, I would go to these seminars where this national speaker would pack 3,000 people in a room, and there's probably 8 or 10 of us that are still friends today that did all the stuff he talked about and still do it today.
mhm,
And no idea where half those other people are. But
yeah.
but you're right, 99% of the people won't do it.
Yeah, and it's easy because I've been there where people will struggle with, I'm not worthy or I'm not ready or I'm not an expert in this or that. And they get in their heads so deep that it results in them taking no action. But literally, if I were to go back, so I've had this business a little over 8 years. If I were to go back and talk to me back then, I'd say, bro, here's the secret. Just keep going. The
Right.
timeline's unknown. Things can take a long time or they can happen quickly. You'll have no idea. Just keep going. It'll be fine.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, just, don't give up. They say most small businesses, and, let's talk about entrepreneurship for a minute. Most small businesses fail in the first 5 years,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And even a greater percentage in the first 3 years.
Yep.
So, I have a really good friend, Jason, and, we've been friends for a number of years, and, he'll do something for a short period of time, go do something else, do
Oh, yeah.
something else for a short period of time, go do something else. And he wonders why he can't get anything going.
Yep.
And I think it's that, being intentional, being consistent, being resilient, you know.
Yep.
Um,
I've got friends that way too. Every time you talk to them, you're like, what's gonna be the new thing this time? And that's their personality. It's a bit of that shiny object syndrome slash you're just not patient enough. And there's a point where you can do something too long and it doesn't yield fruit. It's time to, cut bait and move on. So you've got to move through business as best you can, not really emotional with your ideas. Really, the market's who decides if the offers are good, right? So we may love an offer, but if nobody has any interest or nobody buys it at a certain point, you're going to have to say, hey, is this a hobby or is this a business? And you're going to have to make that decision. So, not falling in love with your ideas too much, I think is key as well. But yeah, man, I talked to a guy one time and he was very frustrated. And I'm trying to think what he was doing. It was some sort of a marketing initiative, right? And he was like, I've done everything I'm supposed to do and it's not working. And I said, I'm just curious, how long have you been doing it? I'll never forget this. He said 2 weeks. And I was like, 2 weeks? I was like, why don't you do it for 9 months straight and then judge how it worked at the end of the 9 months? He's like, I can't do that. I was like, why can't you do that? He said, I just don't have the patience. And I was like, well, it may not be for you. Like entrepreneurship is not easy. And you really have to enjoy, as weird as it sounds, getting kicked in the face every day, and you got to figure out what kind of entrepreneur you are. I am not a destination entrepreneur. I found this out last year. I hit a monthly and an annual revenue goal I never thought I'd hit in my life. And when I got there, you know what it felt like? It felt like exactly the same as it does every other year. It didn't feel any different. I always thought it would feel amazing and it would be this great, exciting pinnacle to reach, but it felt no different. I was almost depressed about it for 2 or 3 days. I'm like, what is going on? And then I go, oh, I get it. I'm in love with the process. I'm in love with the
mm,
journey. I'm in love with the people that I meet and I get to see grow with me. So once I understood that, I realized that this stops for me when I die. Like I don't
Yeah.
stop before that. So
Yeah. That's interesting you say that, because we've all heard the saying, hey, love what you do and you never work a day in your life, or, be passionate about what you do. But I love that you've said that, because it shows that your true passion about what you're doing.
yeah,
I did a social media post yesterday. I was touring a property in Tulsa,
hmm,
and I said, this is the part of my job that I absolutely love.
yeah,
Going to the property, getting on an airplane, traveling, spending time on a property, making sure that the operations are operating, and there's those parts about your job that you absolutely love and have that passion for.
yeah,
And, and I think that that's, in some ways that separates successful from non-successful.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because people can have a lot of money and still hate their lives. I mean, you and I
Mm,
probably both know a bunch of people that way. So life's too short to be miserable. So you've got to do things that you enjoy and do things that give you fulfillment for sure.
yeah. Well, look at us, we both lived in the Midwest, had a little bit of money,
Yeah,
what weren't happy,
uh,
went to move across country, and now we're
yeah.
happier.
It's funny. I was telling my wife yesterday. I said, "This year, can we just focus on living our daily life?" And she's like, "What does that mean?" I said, "Well, for 3 years, I've been trying to get out of Central Indiana. Now that we're out of there, like I'm keeping this house forever. Now, this may not be my primary residence forever, but I'm keeping this house forever. So I want to actually do everything we want to do to it, get settled, and enjoy my day to day life. The last 3 years have been exhausting. So,
Yeah. So, yeah, it's interesting. Listen, here I have a question for you.
sure.
Why Active Campaign
Yeah,
versus HubSpot or Zoho or
yeah,
Mailchimp?
yeah.
You know?
Well, I would say your best competitor there is HubSpot. So, Active Campaign is the perfect intersection of affordability. It's very, very powerful, and it's easy for my team and I to teach. So I know it so well. It took me 2 years to train my team on how to use it really well. It's a really nice intersection for our clients. HubSpot is more powerful, but it also gets crazy expensive. And for the people that I work with, I'm going to say 5% of people are willing to pay for HubSpot what they need to do the things we want it to do at that level. So it's just a really good tool. Everything that we promote, we use ourselves as well. So Mailchimp is not on the same level of Active Campaign. That's where I started as well. It's great if you want to send emails. The CRM, the marketing automation feature is pretty weak. So Active Campaign plays well with a lot of stuff. So it's a pretty mainstream choice at this point.
Any opinion on Zoho?
No, not really. I mean, I think it's got a good pipeline feature. I don't get into it much. I usually am pulling people out of these other platforms, but we have our marketing stack that we don't sway from. And I'll meet people every year that are like, "Hey, I'm a HubSpot guy. I want to work with you, but I want to work with HubSpot." And I'm like, "You have a decision to make. Either stick with HubSpot or come with me, but we're not doing both." So
Yeah.
it's
So
really
you
smart
you
for me.
only focus on Active Campaign. So that's great. See, right there shows you're in that niche,
Yep.
and that's your sweet spot.
Yep.
It's like when somebody asks me what my buying strategy is, I say, well, I like 100 to 250 units. That's my
Yep.
sweet spot, right?
Yep.
So I think you have to know where you operate best, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Um,
the smaller, the more narrow you stay, the better you get, and you learn the details and everything. So it's a mistake sometimes to go too wide with things. So
so what do you guys do then? Do you teach how to use Active Campaign? You do marketing? Do you write copy? Do you put posts together? Do you do the social media? What
yeah,
part of the process do you do? So I'm a capital raiser. How do you help me?
yeah. So again, we focus on what we call the back end of the sales funnel. So what happens after people opt into your lists, right, from your website, your landing pages, whatever. We have a one-time project. We set up an account. We import about 50 automations. We help write the copy by getting some prompts from you and use AI plus a little bit of me. So it's like a cyborg technology. And you'll tweak it and stuff, but it's going to save you a lot of time. So you're basically paying us for strategy, architecture, training. So we're going to train you on everything and lifetime support. So for that reason, it's a pretty unique offer because I've never seen another marketing company offer lifetime support.
Hmm.
Yep. So if you're getting leads and you need help nurturing them, which every business does, what we do is focused on the nurture of leads. It also helps with the capital raising events that happen throughout the year for you. And it helps you keep in touch with your current investors as well using marketing automation.
And you feel that the process of active campaign gives you more deliverability on your emails than and text messaging um, than other platforms.
Yeah, I mean, but like I said, we get into your DNS records for your email domain. We add some records to increase your deliverability out of Active Campaign. So really, all of the deliverability secrets out of text and email, we're doing everything we can to try to improve that for you. There's also some best practices about how you build your list, how you engage with your list. All that stuff matters as well. There's also some warm up tools out there that will help with deliverability. So it's not a perfect science, but we get you in the best possible place that we can for sure. But just by using text or ringless voicemail plus email, something besides just email, just that alone will get you in front of more investors for sure.
Yeah. Hey, you know, and I love what you're doing in your business, and I know that there's a huge niche out there. So tell people the name of your company again and how they get in touch with you.
Yeah, intentionally inspirational. Intentionallyinspirational.com is where you can go. If you want to have a conversation, I'd love to show you what we're doing. We've worked with 166 real estate investors in about 2 years. So we are not rookies in this space. I'm a real estate investor as well. I'm in one apartment complex, Chattanooga, 121 doors myself. So yeah, love to talk to you.
Yeah, are you GP or an LP?
LP.
Okay, good for you.
Yep.
Um, so from an entrepreneurial standpoint,
Mhm.
let's talk about being an entrepreneur. What advice would you give somebody today who was going out to start a new business and, you know, um, feeling the struggles and of the market and, and that, what advice would you give somebody today?
Yeah, and really the advice I'm going to give you guys is the same thing I would tell myself if I could go back in time. First thing is if you have a source of income now, don't do what I did and just abandon all that and try to start from nothing. It's so much harder that way. And it didn't work. I had to go back to corporate. So if you have a day job, make your time off the time to build that business. It's just smarter. It's eliminating unnecessary risk. The second piece of advice is the timeline is unknown. So if you set these goals like I'm going to leave in 3 months, do you have any data to support that, or is that just a number you're making up? I did that. It did not work out for me. So you're going to have to be patient with that. The final thing is be careful who you share your dreams with. It's very common. It happened to me to have spouses, friends, family, neighbors tell you all the reasons why it's a horrible idea and you're going to fail. But guess what? There is a whole world of people out there, like me and Mike, as an example, who will support your dreams and tell you you can do it and have big dreams ourselves. So surround yourself with like-minded people when it comes to building a business.
Awesome. I like what you were talking about, setting the goal of 3 months. Well, how are you going to get there? You got to have that plan along the way. I wrote a book called Exit Plan, totally about multifamily exits, right? But it's the same thing in that. If you think about it, if you're going to leave your job, what is the plan to get there? Think about the end result. Where do you need to be in order to do that?
Yep,
And, if people can back into that number, you know, makes it easier, right?
absolutely.
Hey, couple questions for you. So, best book you've ever read?
Think and Grow Rich.
Okay.
It's one that always comes back to me is me going, you know what? I'm not crazy. Other people think like this. So it's always, when I read that, it was a pivotal moment for me for sure.
Yeah, I love Think and Grow Rich for sure. So many good, worldly concepts in there.
Yep,
Just, being intentional about your life and where
yep,
you're headed, right?
absolutely.
Um, okay, so now that you're living in Georgia,
Mhm.
best tourist attraction you've seen down there since you've been there?
It's interesting. Depends what you want to do. If you like the beach, Amelia Island, Florida. If you like a little bit quieter beach, Jekyll Island. If you want something historic and cool, Savannah.
Mm,
All of them
yeah,
have great seafood too.
yeah. Love seafood. Never been to Savannah, but it's come up in conversation a lot here lately. So sounds
Yeah.
like you know. All right. Well, listen, I appreciate you being here this morning.
Yeah.
Any last comments or thoughts?
Yeah, final thought I'll leave you all with is you've got something that you're working towards. It might be a this year goal, it might be a lifetime type of thing. Just keep going. Just keep
Mm.
going. You're going to have hard days. Start of this year hasn't been fun for me. We had a big win yesterday, which is nice, but you have to celebrate all the little wins. So just keep going, and it's okay to celebrate a win once in a while.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you being on this morning. Tell people again, Jason, how they get a hold of you and how they should reach out to you.
Yeah, if you want to have a conversation, intentionallyinspirational.com, or you can look us up on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you. You have a wonderful day. And if I can do anything for you, don't hesitate. And listeners, we're here every Thursday morning. Have a different entrepreneur on talking about entrepreneurship values, core intentions, and whatever else is going to help you drive your life and your business